guest once won a Peabody Award for the excellence of his television program. Shortly after the program went off the air, he was said to have a button-down mind then, and we'll see whether it's buttoned or zipped or what. Now, will you welcome, please, the very funny Bob Newhart. What?
Who was that?
I saw that face.
The face was familiar?
Yeah.
That was a famous film star. You're good on faces, aren't you?
I get that all the time. They ask me what my name is.
They do say, do they ever think of me?
They went to high. Yeah.
There was a time where people thought I was you, and I don't know whether one of us has changed or what.
Well, I certainly haven't.
Yeah, well, I haven't either. Maybe the people have. Did you just get back from Australia or somewhere so far distant that you're probably still suffering from jet lag?
I was there in October, which I had an offer for 4 years to go to Australia. And what put me off is the flight, because I don't particularly enjoy flying.
I think you coined the phrase white knuckles, didn't you, for flying?
And I said, you can't go through life sitting in your living room. You have to get on a plane every so often. And so I steeled myself in 18 hours down to Australia. We did it in one fell swoop. And I spent 18 hours just staring at the seatbelt sign, waiting for it to light. And they didn't have, it was an airline I won't mention, but they didn't have a lot of frills and extras on this particular airline. They didn't have movies or stereo. They had they gave you a book and you had to flip the pages real fast.
Sort of there, a man riding a bicycle.
So it made it a long flight.
Yeah, I guess it would. You know, I didn't realize this, but you and I have something in common you may not know. We both had morning television shows in our day.
Well, you had a network show. This was a reunion to come here, because your director, Dave Bonheiser, was my director in Chicago. And one time, Dave was directing a show that I was on. And Bill Daly, who was on I Dream of Jeannie, was the floor manager. And Mike Douglas was the production singer with Joe Galicchio's band. We were all that talent. It's hard to believe in one...
On a morning show?
Studio. Yeah. No, I did a show. It wasn't that particular show. I did another show in the morning. It was opposite Captain Kangaroo and Today.
Both? It was opposite both?
At the same time, yes.
Wow.
And we got one card in 16 weeks. You had a horrible feeling that no one at all was watching the show, that even the cameraman would look away during
in 16 weeks, one postcard poured in?
And they asked about something that was on a table. Where could I get that lighter that you had?
So the trivia expert's real test would be if he knew the name of that show and all of that. What was the name of it?
It was called the Tom Racine Show. I was going under the name. No. No, he would interview people on the street, and this was in 1960 when people were not that interested. That was the first show they thought of when they came up with television. When DeForest came up with it, he must have turned to someone and said, why don't we do a man on the street show? You know, and they did that in 49. But by 1960, they couldn't have cared less about a television camera on the street and didn't want to be bothered talking to anyone. And they would just rush by us, and we'd have to grab them. And I was always I always had a strange occupation. Every day I would have a different occupation. And one day I realized that we were in trouble because he interviewed me and he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a doctor. And he said, well, it's rather unusual you're being downtown at this hour of the morning. And I explained that I had an emergency appendectomy at 10 o'clock that night. And it turned out we had complications, and I put the patient on the table at 10 and closed the patient up at 6:30. I'm sure I closed these. And rushed into a subway tunnel, and one woman called and said he should be disbarred from the... They thought it was an actual
The only day she'd seen the show and she didn't recognize you. When we get back, I want to ask you if you still wake up in the morning and say, thank God I'm still not filming Catch-22. Because I've heard so many things about the people who were stuck down there in the desert on that. We'll be right back after this message of interest.